Aloha! In May and June of 2022, the Hawaii Community Foundation held a series of virtual community convenings around the change framework. This is a recording of the slide presentation we shared at the beginning of each community convening. My name is Larissa Kick, and I'm the Vice President of Community Grants and Initiatives at Hawaii Community Foundation. Hawaii Community Foundation, or HCF for short, was created 105 years ago and is a statewide public charity with over 70 staff serving all islands. Here is our mission and vision on this slide. We steward over 1,000 funds, work closely with donors, distribute grants and scholarships, and serve as a community partner, convener, and connector. In this short presentation, I will briefly share about the change framework and our plan for community engagement this year. Our partner, Hawaii Data Collaborative, will share about its mission and shared aspirations with HCF. Let's start with a review of the change framework. In 2017, Hawaii Community Foundation developed the change framework to better understand the well-being of our people and places in Hawaii. The framework includes 6 essential change areas or sectors that affect the ability of peoples and communities to thrive. They include community and economy, health and wellness, arts and culture, natural environment, government and civics, and education. Each sector has subsectors with relevant data known as indicators. In total, there are 19 subsectors and 36 indicators. The change framework was created with the input of HCF leadership and staff to utilize statewide data to understand how our community is faring. Over the past few years, the pandemic caused the nonprofit sector, including HCF, to reflect on our goals and hopes for the future. The community faces even greater challenges today than 5 years ago, and we are continuously seeking data to understand the needs of our community to make change. To change systems, we acknowledge that we must be willing to do work differently and take bold action to address the root causes of social problems. HCF is interested in continuing to expand our work beyond grant making to achieve greater impact and build more meaningful relationships with the communities we serve. The vision for change framework is that by engaging stakeholders around common data and shared goals, we can achieve collective action on systemic issues. To achieve this vision, HCF is focused on building relationships and sharing power. We seek community voice to inform the change framework as part of a collaborative process to achieve positive outcomes and collective impact. We hope the change framework inspires collective action by nonprofits, businesses, government, and individual community members. HCF seeks to create a theory of change for each sector to clearly define the long-term vision, goals, and strategies for each sector. The theory of change will help to identify solutions to effectively address the challenges our community faces today. The theory of change for each sector will guide us for the coming years, and it will be an iterative process. The key components in this process include, first, developing a theory of change for each sector. That would lead to investment of resources, and this could include grants, networks, and capacity building programs and advocacy efforts. We will then work with our partners to gather outcomes reported through common data to track progress in community, and this would inform our understanding on progress on shared goals, on indicators to track multi-year progress. We will then revisit our assumptions, vision, strategies, and goals. And lastly, we'll revise our theory of change based on our learnings. At HCF, we are continuously seeking community input on our grant programs and initiatives to ensure community need and voice is central to our work and the impact we are having. We seek to better understand what data is tracked over time to understand community need and opportunities, gaps in data, how data is used to inform decision-making, and data capacity needs of our community. Data is key to informing decision-making and understanding the impact we are having. Our partner to help build our own data capacity and understanding is Hawaii Data Collaborative. I now welcome Nick Redding, Executive Director of Hawaii Data Collaborative, to share their aspirations with us on the change framework. Nick.
All right, thanks so much, Larissa. Next slide, please. So for those of you who are less familiar with us, our mission at the Hawaii Data Collaborative is to collaborate to make meaning from data for solving Hawaii's pressing challenges. We exist because we think how we come together to use data to improve outcomes for individuals, families, and communities matters. And to us, it's not about the data, it's about co-creating with partners a thriving data ecosystem that supports our work at all levels to achieve better outcomes. Next slide, please. I think many would agree that the relevance of our mission couldn't have been any more apparent than during the pandemic. The pandemic taught us a lot about data in Hawaii very quickly, not just about data for COVID, but post-economic shock. We found ourselves not having the data we needed to inform a response. Much of this, not all of it, but much of this could be attributed to an over-reliance on federal and national data sources that, while very good and high quality, are not local and are not timely and don't adapt to local decision need, especially during times of crisis like the pandemic. And when we sought to work with partners to develop new data sources to help us understand what was going on, we found oftentimes there were limited data capacities across stakeholders to be able to create, stand up, et cetera, new data systems to help us understand what was going on. Next slide, please. So while we learned that data capacities among stakeholders is challenging, we've also heard a deep desire to be able to do more with data. We've taken that to heart and decided to focus our efforts on building data capacities where so desired, right now focusing on those supporting household need. Well, that is a primary focus of our work today. We also understand the importance of building an environment that supports building data capacities for better outcomes at all levels. Next slide, please. As we at HDC have been working to build partnerships in the community, we've been asking a lot of questions. One of those questions has been what funders can do to improve data insight and communication across stakeholders. And from those conversations, three things have stood out that we are taking to heart in our work to support HCF and their data strategy. One thing that we heard was the importance of funding data capacity development directly. Another is funders have an opportunity to play a special role in data sharing across stakeholders working on specific issues. And lastly, and probably not surprising to many, there are many opportunities to streamline and in some ways shift the role that reporting requirements play and how we develop shared understanding of what's happening on the ground across communities. Next slide, please. So we are very excited to be invited to be a part of the Change Initiative to support developing a change data strategy. This is a great opportunity to weave data into the overall change strategy that reflects lessons learned and our shared aspiration for how data can improve outcomes. Next slide. So what does this look like and where are we in the change data strategy today? We at HDC hear a fundamental question undergirding this work with HCF, which is how can data guide our work as a community? Further, how can we fund work guided by timely local data? How do we build that data feedback loop with our communities? How can grantees and partners be supported to develop data capacities when they so desire to build those capacities? And lastly, how can HCF serve as the data convener, supporting data sharing and connections that matter for moving Hawaii forward? Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Nick. Earlier, I shared our goal to co-develop a theory of change to define a long-term vision and goals for each sector. HCF seeks to hear from a diverse group of community members to understand the challenges, opportunities, inequities, and data relevant to the community across change sectors. We want to learn how HCF can support communities in each of these sectors and make systemic change. Our community engagement process and the change framework is grounded in a set of values, We value inclusion, so people from all sectors and walks of life can be involved. We also value partnerships, which are critical to addressing community issues. And we also value safety and authenticity and seek to create a space for honest conversations to inform the development of the change framework aimed at equitable outcomes. So this slide shows our plan for community engagement. Our community engagement process includes virtual community convenings, which we held in May and June, where we heard from and gathered initial feedback from a diverse group of stakeholders across each of the change sectors. Currently, and for the rest of the year and possibly into the next year, HF staff will engage community in deeper discussions focused on each sector. Our engagement activities may include small focus groups, surveys, site visits, and other ways to gather feedback. Our goal is to develop a theory of change for each sector later this year and next year. And the theory of change will guide our collective action and work together in coming years. On this slide, you'll find our change sector leads. Please feel free to reach out to any of them if you have any questions about this process or would like to engage with us. Also, we have a sign-up form on the HF website where you can sign up and our team will get in touch with you. So thank you for taking the time to watch this video and learn more about what we're doing around change and the community engagement process. Thank you so much.